In the bulletin this morning, team lead and program director of Fact Check Ghana, Kwame Krobia Asante, admonishes government to fairly apply laws to tackle growing misinformation in the country.
If the law is being applied fairly, all these people should be brought in on the charges of sharing false information, knowing that the information you are sharing is not the accurate information and misleading the Ghanaian public. In any way we want to take it, even if you are going to use those laws, then they must be applied fairly.
Also in the bulletin, joy in Muslim communities as government announces reduction of Hajj fares in fulfillment of President Mahama's campaign promise. Later, we'll tell you how Damongo MP denies claims that he referred to Kole Klote MP Dr. Zaneto Ajman Rollins as daughter of a murderer. We have details coming up shortly.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Star 1035 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Star 103.5 FM. Star News. Informed, in depth, in touch.
Welcome to the program. My name is Ekow. Now, team lead and program director of Fact Check Ghana, Kwame Krobia Asante, has admonished government to fairly apply laws to tackle the growing misinformation in the country. This comes after the Minister Designate for Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations, Samuel Nati George, yesterday hinted of legislation to tackle the growing menace of misinformation as the canker has started creeping into Parliament. The Ningo Prampram MP, who himself had been a victim, urged Parliament's leadership to take a firm stance against those responsible for spreading malicious and defamatory content, warning that such smear campaigns and falsehoods would not be tolerated.
In the past 1 week, this House has carried out business on 2 occasions on the back of misinformation. The Appointments Committee of Parliament had to deal with an issue of mis and disinformation when it invited Oliver Bakavomawo because there was no authentication of what the committee put before him as his own post. Meanwhile, it was doctored. Yesterday, the Honorable Member for Damongo, Honorable Abu Jinapor, made reference to a photo that had been altered and digitally created on the floor of this House. It's important that we take misinformation and disinformation seriously and deal with it once and for all, and crack the whip and make sure that persons who are actively engaged in this face the full rigors of the law. And Mr. Speaker, with your support as Minister, we will bring legislation to deal with it.
So that was the newly approved Minister for Communications, Samuel Nati George there. But still on that story, speaking to Star News, the team lead and program director of Fact Check Ghana under the Media Foundation for West Africa, Kweku Krobia Asante, says although he agrees existing laws may be outdated, any new law must be applied fairly to ensure misinformation is tackled.
We see politicians tactically lying every now and then. Just a few weeks ago, the former communications person for the Education Ministry came out to come and tell us that ideally the beneficiaries of free SHS program was not 5.7 million, but the former government ran a campaign on this for many years, deceiving the Ghanaian public. Ideally, if we are applying the law very well, this is time for us to go back and say, who are those saying all these things, knowing that the data they were sharing with us, including the Minister of Education at the time, was false. Why were they sharing this content with us? If the law is being applied fairly, all these people should be brought in on the charges of sharing false information, knowing that the information you are sharing is not the accurate information and misleading the Ghanaian public. In any way we want to take it, even if you are going to use those laws, then they must be applied fairly, which is what has been lacking on the conversation of the law. So if you're going to talk about law, then I think that we should open it up and have all stakeholders come together and say, what law should we have? If a law must fight misinformation, disinformation, then they must be keen to also protect free speech and human rights.
Still on information, but on a different tangent, Damongo MP Samuel Abu Jinapor has categorically denied claims that he referred to Korle Klotse MP Dr. Zaneto Ajman Rawlings as the daughter of a murderer during a parliamentary session on Tuesday. Speaking to Starr News, Jinapor stated that such words are not in his nature and have been falsely attributed to him. Before we bring you excerpts of that interview, let's refresh our memory on how those distasteful comments were let out during yesterday's session when the House was debating a statement on the life and legacy of Dr. J.B. Dankwa.
Leader, let's hear you. Mr. Speaker, under normal circumstances, a commemorative statement is not to generate debate. I would want to remind the House that these are national heroes. Some are on our side, some are on their side. So let us be mindful how we react when it's our turn. Obviously, there will come a time that a statement will be made in honor of the hard work of former President Nkrumah, Liman, Jerry Rawlings, Professor Mills, and all. Let us, Mr. Speaker, let us focus on their contribution. It's me. That's evidence on Tani Papa Kunipa. Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Honorable members.
So now let's listen to the denial by the Damongo MP.
Anybody who has followed my career and followed my involvement in Ghanaian public life will in all modesty attest to the fact that I don't speak in that nature. I don't speak in that manner. The words which are being falsely attributed to me are not words that I will ever use. That's not the way I speak. Secondly, I didn't even know that such words had been uttered. I found that this morning when this trending video was brought to my attention. And what I can say to that is that it's totally false. It cannot be correct. I mean, anybody who's followed my life and career will come to the conclusion that Abu Jinapor will not speak that way. I don't.
So you heard Samuel Abu Jinapor, who is the Damongo MP. Now, away from that, a political science lecturer, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otre, has called on the MP for Ayawaso West Wogon, John Seto Dumelo, who has been appointed as the Deputy Minister Designate for Food and Agriculture, to ensure he maintains his seat in the next elections. John Dumelo was nominated alongside MP for Bolibamboy, Yusuf Sulemana, as Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Autu Senya West MP Gizela Tete as Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, and MP for Esojaman Thomas Ampem-Nyako as Deputy Finance Minister. Speaking to Starr News on the back of this, Dr. Asante-Otre urged the Deputy Minister to put in place mechanisms to retain his seat following his nomination as Deputy Minister.
But that being said, there are other considerations. One, the fact that John Dumelo is a wild card. Obviously, Otukono let me put it this way. That particular position, based upon his expertise and how he's equally worked hard over the period. I mean, position back in a position, in government into opposition all these years, well, he could really have merited that particular position. But the appointor knows other considerations. Of course, there are so many thousands of that, the appointor can decide to, as it were, give some of these personalities along the line. And so the wild card, it is groom himself along the line. That particular, seat is a vulnerable seat. It is not a fair complaint type of seat. And you could see that because of the wind of change that was blowing, that's the more reason why seats like that go to the NDC.
So that was Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre there. To some other news, the government announced a significant reduction in Hajj fares from 75,000 Ghana cedis to 62,000 Ghana cedis for the 2025 annual pilgrimage to Mecca in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is in fulfillment of President John Dramani Mahama's campaign promise to make Hajj affordable for the Muslim community during the 2024 electioneering campaign. GH1 News and Starr News' Abdul Hanan Adam has more.
Hajj, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is obligatory for Muslims who are physically and financially capable of undertaking the journey. The recent fare reduction of 17.33% offers significant relief for prospective pilgrims, making the sacred journey more affordable. Alhaji Collins Dauda, chairman of the Hajj Task Force and member of parliament for Esutifi South, at a press briefing in Accra stated that the decrease of 13,000 Ghana cedis alleviates financial pressure and will allow more individuals to embark on the pilgrimage.
President Mama has been able to honor this commitment. The task force, 2,000 Ghana cedis, which is equivalent to $4,130.66 United States dollars. President Mahama wishes to assure Muslims in Ghana that he will do everything to make programs of Ghana very comfortable.
The Ghana Hajj Agents Association, speaking at the sidelines of the press briefing, commended the government for the fare reduction, noting that it represents a significant boost for the Muslim Ummah.
The class of people who go are the middle and the lower class. You understand? They are the chunk of people who go to Hajj. And the higher class, they are the people who normally pay for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people. So if you look at the price, that means this year somebody can at least pay for 10 people.
We have more news for you on starfm.com.gh. My name is Ekow. Thank you for staying with us.